First of all, my name is Peter Howitt. I work at Ince. I'm a lawyer. Ince is a law firm and also a fiduciary business. We have companies that we administer. We do foundations and funds. We're delighted that we are a business partner for Sigil. We also work with the Z-Prime people, and my guest today is also someone we've worked with for a number of years now. This is a kind of overview of NFTs with a bit of a historical path in terms of the development. And I'm joined by Tony Pearce, who's going to join me later for our discussion. Reality Gaming Group and Tony, they do custom NFT marketplaces with major brands. Is that a fair description, Tony? And Tony will talk more about that in a bit. There's been a lot that's been said today already on some of these points, so I'm going to save some of the discussion about what's driving the NFT mania in some sense. What's driving individual behavior. I think there's a couple of points I just want to make, though. First of all, perhaps like many of you, in the crypto space, I tend to find that I have the same process for nearly everything. First of all, I'm skeptical. Then I do a deep dive and start to get interested, and then I usually come out the other side and realize that my skepticism was misguided in many ways. And I think NFTs is an area where I've had that even more than with Bitcoin when I first looked at Bitcoin and stable coins. And I think someone told me last night that Vitalik said that the success of NFTs has been the biggest surprise for him with Ethereum. And it's easy to see why it's a surprise, because at first glance, NFTs are quite hard to wrap your head around. And the value proposition and the property rights and all of the other the risks with NFTs are quite significant, and we'll pick up some of those as we go along. I'm glad it works. This is apparently the first NFT from 2014 called Quantum. It was minted before Ethereum even existed. It was reminted on Ethereum and sold by Sotheby's, I believe, for 1.4 million. And a very lovely piece of history it is. It's interesting, it was minted on one chain and then minted again on another chain, and it's something we'll talk about as we go through this. What does that mean? You know, we've heard about NFTs and provenance and authentication and proof, but what does it mean when you can have a digital file that can be minted on multiple chains? Well, it means that we're not dealing with something which is just about security and authentication, that you have the unique rights to a digital file. If you can mint a digital file on multiple chains, then you've got some issues there that you need to consider very carefully. This was a very primitive version of Decentraland called Ethereum. It's got the graphics that people in the space very much like. That was first minted in October 2015. CryptoPunks we've heard about. CryptoPunks is very interesting. It was a free airdrop, and it's obviously legendary now. The highest value one has gone for 11.7 million, and I believe it's the one that's wearing a mask. It looks like it preempts COVID. It was first minted in June 2017. It's subsequently, I believe, minted this year. The content for the CryptoPunks was put on chain. And as you're probably aware from the discussions that we've had, the way NFTs work often is that there's a digital file somewhere else, which the contract and the hash refer to. But I believe Lava Labs managed to put the file itself on chain this year. We've also had an interesting thing this year where I believe Polygon and a few others have basically taken the CryptoPunks and put them on a separate chain. This gave rise to a takedown notice for copyright reasons from Lava Labs, which I think was unsuccessful. And so Binance and the Polygon CryptoPunks are in existence. So you've now got the same file effectively on multiple chains. So you can see that theme is something that is going to continue to persist in the space, because ultimately digital files are infinitely replicable. And what's really interesting as a lawyer, I'm not going to hardly say anything about law because it will bore you all, but what's really interesting as a lawyer is that when you look at artificial scarcity, which is what we're talking about usually in crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or NFTs, usually artificial scarcity is created by laws. You know, intellectual property rights are effectively a way of having artificial scarcity. Otherwise, if you didn't have patents and copyright and trademarks, everyone could do the same as everyone else at the lowest possible unit cost. I think NFTs is probably the first time I'm aware where technology has created this different kind of activity, and it's not enforced by law. It's a mixture of technology and custom and convention and trust. And I think that's the other reason why NFTs are fascinating if you're a crypto person, because going back to Bitcoin, the whole point was to try and remove the need for trust. NFTs actually reintroduce the need for trust in a very significant way, which we'll pick up in a few other ways as we go. Decentraland, interestingly, this is a digital Sims-like world. Interestingly, we saw CryptoPunks, I think it's sold in 2021 by Sotheby's for 11.7 million. Decentraland actually had a Sotheby's virtual gallery or auction house in it this year. The highest price paid for a piece of virtual land in Decentraland, you can see, is almost $1 million. That's the last time I checked, and that was for 16 acres of digital land. It was first minted in 2017. We had probably one of the earliest examples of an art community for the NFT space was actually a failure. The Dado Creeps and Weirdos was a digital art community, and it had a limited number of drawings with limited editions, and it failed, maybe partly because it came out close to when we started the crypto winter. But it's interesting that that first example of NFTs for interesting art was not a success, and we'll see that that obviously changed. The Cambrian explosion. Not something I've got into, but it's something that I think is interesting particularly for Tony and what he does. But I was amazed when my friend George from KR1 told me about NBA Top Shots. I couldn't wrap my head around it at first. LeBron James, a short animation of him dunking. I think the highest price one has sold for nearly $400,000, and you can see this one has got quite a high price tag. But that's been a success that perhaps surprised people, which is people are willing to pay a lot of money to have a little bit of history in anything that they care about, whether it's sports, art, or strange-looking digital punks. Beeplemania, this is the most expensive NFT in the world, nearly $70 million, and it's a composite of his everyday images put together. There's 5,000 of the days. Apparently, Beeple reaction when it was sold was holy fuck for $69 million, and you can't blame him. I mean, it looks interesting, but certainly $69 million would have been a surprise to most of us for that. Beeple, if everyone probably knows Beeple in here, but Mike Winkelmann is a bit like a Banksy for the crypto space, I guess, in terms of his satirical approach to content generation. He also did an animation which may show, it's a 10-second animation, that sold for just over $6 million, I believe. And in this animation, the content changed depending on whether Trump or Biden won the election. GigaChad, I had to include that because Elon Musk is such an interesting character, and you can see he's there with his Doge. I think it shows one of the things that I think people's really good at is tapping into the zeitgeist of the crypto community, and obviously taking the mickey out of uber alphas like Elon. Bored Ape Yacht Club we've heard about. That's the most expensive one, I believe, $2.25 million. Very nice. NFT platforms. So we've seen a massive rise in NFT platforms. The biggest one, I believe, is OpenSea. It started in 2017 in New York. I believe in August this year it did $3 billion in revenue. It's valued, in its last investment round, it was valued around 150 billion. If anyone's used OpenSea, what's fascinating is this does 3 billion of revenue in a month. You can connect to it with a wallet. There's no KYC, there's no verification, there's nothing. And I think as a lawyer, that's fascinating. You know, that much volume is going through and there's zero checks. I'm not here to suggest that there should be checks, but clearly you can see when there's that much value being transacted, it has to be open to the risk of money laundering. And it would be naive to say that that isn't the case. So we're seeing changes in the UK. They introduced a crypto asset regime which requires registration. It arguably, I think it does, applies to NFT marketplaces. So I think we're going to see some divergence where some NFT marketplaces will be doing verification on people and others won't. And obviously, those that do are going to have a massive competitive disadvantage at first, at least until big marketplaces that don't are subject to enforcement action. Super rare is an interesting one. It's for high-end, very limited edition art. It's some beautiful works on that. Hiket Nunk is interesting because it's not an Ethereum-based one. It's Tezos-based. It doesn't have a huge amount of volume as yet, but it's interesting to see that the community is starting to move away from Ethereum as its go-to for NFTs. And then FTX, as well as joining Gibraltar, recently has joined the NFT party. They've got their own marketplace. And then it's also interesting because they're doing cross-chain, which allows interaction between Ethereum and Solana, I think, from memory. Personal experiences, my favorite NFTs, just because I started off thinking this is all ridiculous, what a waste of money, doesn't make any sense. And then, as always, I fell through the rabbit hole. So I ended up buying a few NFTs based on just things that I like. This is by a person called Lip Comarella, who's an animation art director at Netflix, Italian, and it actually has some quite famous, relatively famous work. And there's a link there to the Guay station, which is a really good piece of work. So I collected that because it wasn't very expensive, and I became a collector. So I joined the party and realized that when you really like someone, whether it's a sports person or an artist, sometimes you collect just because you want to be connected in some way or another to what they're doing. This one is a game that I've started to collect land in Mars, virtual land, and with it comes virtual Martians. No doubt I'm going to look back with great regret at these purchases, but it's interesting because it's going to allow people to battle each other based on what kind of Martian they have and whether the Martian is a Bitcoin or an Ethereum Martian or what have you. And please don't ask me how much I paid for that. Okay, Tony, you want to join me? Yeah, that should work.
Hello, everyone. Oh, that was loud. Sorry. Good afternoon. Thank you for staying. Are we the final?
Yeah, are we the graveyard?
We're one more. Okay. Oh, sorry. You can watch this.
Okay, actually, no, I'll play it.
Okay, so watch this. So Reality Gaming Group is a games company. I've been in games for 20 odd years now and started back in Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation 1, and I've kind of seen all these different platform cycles come and go, and we moved into, or got interested in blockchain games back in 2017, and we were one of the first. At the time, we were developing a mobile game that looked at tokenizing in-game items. And the word NFT actually didn't even exist when we were looking at this. And we were very early on, met Peter, came out here. We did an ICO back in 2017 to create a mobile game called Reality Clash, which I'll show you after this, which is an augmented reality mobile game that uses NFTs, and it's currently on the App Store. But we then built a platform which could create NFTs very quickly and efficiently. We have our own sidechain, and we now have a roadmap of games coming through. Our biggest so far is with the BBC, and it's a Doctor Who trading card game where every card is an individual NFT. What I find fascinating about the way blockchain games work, as opposed to going back into the older type of games, is that most blockchain games companies sell the NFTs before the game comes out. And this is exactly what's happening with Doctor Who. So we're selling packs of cards, digital packs of cards, and the game actually doesn't come out until next year. And there's a couple of reasons for doing that. One is it builds up an incredible community of people that just expand hugely once the word gets out that there are limited edition cards that they are either collecting because they're massive Doctor Who fans, or they're starting to create their decks ready for the game to come out, or they are purely speculators because each one is limited. So each pack comes with 10 cards. Each pack is variously priced from $4.99 up to $70. And you could be, it's a bit like if you remember the old Top Trumps days of going into a shop and buying a physical pack of cards. You'd come out and you'd open it up and you'd be, damn, I'm missing the sports card, and you go back in and buy another one. It's exactly the same as this. When the pack opens, the algorithm that's built behind it will show you the NFTs that you've got. So you might be extremely happy or not and go and buy another pack. And that algorithm is based on balance in the game, so it knows that there's not too many in the marketplace, and also it's balanced on rarity and scarcity. So we, by building this, have built a storefront and a marketplace that is silo, that runs by itself. So these cards are bought on our sidechain, which is a fork off the Ethereum mainnet, and everything is minted very quickly and very efficiently. And sustainability and energy consumption, working with the BBC, is a massive focus for them. And so we built a platform that really can create these NFTs super fast and cheaply. The second thing is, which I think coming from the games industry, is blockchain gaming is still incredibly complicated to 99% of people. Just the word MetaMask will scare people. Right? It's so much better than it was last year, and every year it gets better. But it's full of friction, and if you haven't got the patience, you will lose those players instantly. So our vision is that by building this platform, we want to make it super simple. So when you come onto Doctor Who, which is live now, by the way, it's Doctor Who - Worlds Apart. When you buy one of these packs, you buy it with a credit card, you buy it with PayPal, or you buy it with crypto. Very simple e-commerce transaction. The pack opens, out comes the cards, and they're minted immediately on our sidechain, and it goes into your account. When you sign up to us, we create you an Ethereum wallet without you even knowing that is your account, and then you can trade these cards instantly on our marketplace. So the packs of cards launched earlier this year. We've now minted just over 1 million cards, and the marketplace is just going crazy if you want to start speculating. Cards can be bought for $4.99. We've seen cards sell for $2,000 if you're lucky enough to get an early serial number. And it's everyone's mentioned community. That is the key thing. It's people just talking about it and making it simple that makes this fun. So the other game, this is what started us off actually. And the reason for showing the three I'm going to show you is they're all very different case studies. So this is a standalone augmented reality mobile combat game. So think Pokemon Go meets Call of Duty. You download it now, it's on the app stores. You connect, you press battle. It'll send a signal out to anyone that's playing this game over the world. It will go, Tony wants to fight you. Do you want to? You see my profile and my guns. And you go, accept. And then it's like a virtual world opens and you literally step into it. It's very, very clever. What makes this different is you can buy an in-app purchase through the App Store, and I call them like black and white, non-tradable guns, or you can go to our website and you can buy the NFTs. And the NFTs are really rare, fun, amazing coloured guns, and they don't have any difference in gameplay in the game, but they look super cool. So you can buy these, they're limited edition, you can download them into the game, you can use them, when you finish, you can withdraw them, and you can trade them on our platform. Now, this is the first game that Apple have actually approved that NFTs can be used inside a mobile game. It's against their terms and conditions still today, although I think Epic's might be changing that, to buy anything outside of the App Store and use it in the game. How the deal we did with Apple and the way we got around this is if you buy the NFT and you download it into the game, you have to unlock it. And you have to buy an in-app purchase to unlock the gun. So that's how Apple make their revenue. This is the marketplace, sorry. So you can see here that if you take this one, for example, there's 500, there's 395 left. Our RCC is the token that you buy it with, and then it's connecting to an exchange with a real value. And once they're sold out, that's it. They're never made again, hence the scarcity and the rarity that takes the price up. Finally, this is the reason for showing this. Smite is a US cartoon series. It's quite big in the US and fairly big in Asia. And it also has 2 mobile phone games. So I think they've done sort of 4 million downloads. So it has a relatively small but good fan base. They approached us and asked if we could create their characters, of which there's 137 Smites, into NFTs and make them collectibles, again, using our platform, our store, and our trading place, our marketplace. And we did this, and the people are now buying Smites, and they're collecting them, and there's a game coming out next year. But we got approached by a toy company called Toykido and saw these NFTs and said, we want to make physical plush, cuddly toys of these NFTs and sell them in Walmart and Amazon and stuff. And that's what's happening. So when you go in and you buy the box with the Smite in, you open it up and there's a QR code on its ear, and you scan it and you instantly get the NFT of the Smitey. So it's quite interesting that this has gone from NFT back to physical. You know, so it's a weird way round. So again, it's going back to, you know, the utility and what you can do with it. And I think this is just one different example.
Yeah, and I think that leads us on to a bit of a discussion. So I tried to rattle through my slides so we could get to this point, and also hopefully we've got time for a bit of Q&A. I think what's really interesting is that interaction between the real world and the infinite fun, which is a land of infinite fun, which is a phrase from Ian M. Banks. You know, NFTs are remarkably diverse in what they can do. You know, we can have NFTs for art communities, for musicians, artists. It can be for identity. It doesn't just need to be for well-known and in some cases overinflated from a price perspective, digital art. The NFT space is, what you can do with non-fungible tokens is so diverse that we're really only just starting to get into it. I think the use of NFTs for things that aren't related to the metaverse is still going to grow. But obviously I think the use of NFTs to create virtual worlds and communities, and we've heard the word community here a lot, is really important. And I think one of the things I'm really interested in is this move from consumption to community to citizenship. And I think some really interesting stuff going on with people building virtual worlds where they want the governance to be decentralized with DAOs. You can really see how people could start to feel like these virtual places are much more real from a perspective of feeling like you have rights and people care about you and people are interested in what you do than perhaps in the normal world. So, Tony, what do you think is driving the mania, particularly on the gaming side?
So being gamers, I think there has to be a utility in an NFT. We believe that you need to use it somewhere. There has to be something to do with it. And we've kind of shied away from just doing NFT art. But because we became another product, because we became well known for gaming NFTs, we did get approached by many artists going, could you create an NFT for me? We don't really understand it. How do you do a smart contract? How does the whole token economics and value work? And it took one brand, after saying no to many, to us going yes, and that was Floyd Mayweather, the boxer. So we did all of his NFTs back in June, Floyd Mayweather's legacy NFTs, and we launched them around his fight with Paul Logan. And the reason for bringing that up is those NFTs come with different values and physical products. So the one of one, although it was really cool artwork, but it also came with a meet and greet with Floyd. I think there was even, you could fly in his private jet from Vegas to somewhere with him. And so if you're a super fan, not only are you getting the artwork, but you're getting something that comes with it that's packaged.
Yeah, I think the VIP token is really interesting, isn't it? When you've, I'm working with a project in the UK that are looking to do use of NFTs to allow access to the band, you know, to specific venues and gigs, and we're seeing quite a bit of that at the moment. And obviously, you've got it with sports and football.
Fan tokens for sports. We even have we call it a founders token for Doctor Who. We have 1,963 because 1963 was the date Doctor Who launched. So there is a reason for it, and we sell them in batches. And I think we sold 500, and those tokens give you VIP access. They give you, you can get early alpha and beta versions of the games. You can get involved there. You get special access Discord channel. You get discounts on the packs. You get no trading fees on the marketplace. And although this is hugely popular, what it does for us is you get amazingly committed fans that will give you incredible feedback. So the Founders Token isn't just about making money. It's actually, these people help us with the game. So it's really important.
I think there's a big question as well about the ability to take your NFT around the virtual space. What we talked about before, you know, Pokemon cards are still amazingly successful. My 7-year-old every day makes me look at his collection at least 3 or 4 times. And there's an interesting thing about, you know, are these children at some point wanting to migrate those collections to the digital world, and what will that allow? More than just, you know, a token to represent some form of control over an asset, but it's, will I be able to use this in a way in a virtual world that I can't necessarily use in the physical world? And I think that's interesting.
So there's another example. There's a fashion brand that we're working with, and there's a company called Boson Protocol who bought some land in Decentraland to build a shopping mall, a digital shopping mall. And we have, through this fashion brand that has retail stores, we've bought a store in the shopping mall in Decentraland. So when you walk into the digital store, you'll recognize the brand. If you buy something from it, it's an NFT that gives you a discount in the store.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I think I think one of the things that I haven't mentioned, but I've touched on it before, but it's worth coming back to, is this point about the NFT structure and people, you know, remembering that we need to be really careful because there's not standardization for NFTs. There's standardization for the token, but there isn't standardization of what goes with the token, and that causes real problems. So obviously a major issue is, where is the underlying asset that the token refers to stored? In many cases, people won't realize that the asset isn't stored in a decentralized manner. It's stored on a server which they don't have any ability to control, and which could go down, in which case you could have a token that points to nothing. In other cases, it could be in an interplanetary file system or a decentralized server structure, but people need to remember there that there's caching. And after a while, you could find that it points to something that isn't shown any longer. So I think the complexity underneath the NFTs, people don't spend enough time on. And I think we need to get much more standardization so people are really clear. How can I guarantee that the token and the asset that it's referring to will be able to follow me in my life and through various places? And I think the marketplaces are going to have to do a much better job of being clear about which intellectual property rights, if any, go with the NFT. How are they making sure the file's available? What you can do or may need to do to maintain the integrity of the token and the file. Is that something that you're thinking about? Do you think the brands are going to start thinking about this more?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of course, it's their IP. So they want to know exactly, you know, what's the downside to NFTs and what's the upside. So you have to decide what chain it needs to go on, where the decentralized and, in that case, centralized databases are. So if a JPEG of the token is on a centralized database, but the token is on a decentralized database, it's kind of like, what happens if the centralized one goes down? You lose the picture. Right? So there's lots to think about in terms of IP and what happens. I mean, so if we went bust? Right, what happens to the Doctor Who cards? Right, you own the token of the card, but the picture might disappear. So that needs to be thought about.
Should we ask a question? Have we got time for a couple of questions or not?
We've got time for a very few.
Okay.
Do we have any questions that we'd like to ask on this? No.
Hi, just the actual last point you made, which is if you go bust, what happens to the data? So I mean, that's not just an incidental issue for you specifically, but it's obviously something that affects anyone who's buying any kind of NFT at all. So since you've actually you've produced this game, fantastic game for a fantastic brand, have you legislated for that particular incident, potential eventuality?
Yes, because we don't have a centralized database. It's on a decentralized one, which the BBC absolutely wanted to have, because if any company goes bust, you don't want it to disappear when it's supposed to be an NFT. Yes. Yeah.
Anything else, guys? Any other questions? Okay, I think we're done. Peter, Tony, it was great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Danny.
Really appreciate it.